Hi, so I'm Darlisha D'Amber, and for Exam 1C discussion question, I will be talking about antibodies functions, um, also known as the effectors. So let's get into this. So to start off, antibodies are kind of like there are immunoglobulin, and they're used by the immune system to kind of like neutralize the pathogens that are entering into the immune system. So they're part of what helps fight off any foreign pathogens that may come into our bodies. So antibodies have three major functions. And the first one is secretion. So they secrete into the blood and mucosa. So what that means is they kind of like they bind into and they inactivate any foreign substances such as pathogens or toxins. And with this is the process of neutralization. So they bind to these things, and this comes into play in the next factor of the antibodies. So the second major function in antibodies is they activate the complement system. So pretty much what this means is that they destroy any bacterial cells by lysis. So just imagine getting a big old baseball bat or whatever, and you are in you are like punching in the wall of the cell wall. So you're punching in these holes with your bat in the cell wall. I know that's kind of like a very crazy example, but that's what they're doing. They're activating the complement, so they're initializing it, and it brings us to our next function. What antibodies do is they facilitate the phagocytosis of any foreign substance by phagocytic cells, which is also called opsonization. So those are the three major functions. So they secrete into the blood and mucosa, and they activate the complement system, and they also facilitate in phagocytosis. So the next thing I like to talk about is the four key features of the immune system of antibodies. So the first one is specificity. So pretty much what this is, antibodies, they recognize the toxins and the pathogens that are entering into these cells. So each B cell has its one antibody. So antigens that recognize the mumps virus, for example, they cannot recognize the measles virus. So they have that one specific antigen that they recognize and that they memorize. It's like, those memory cells that we talked about. They recognize that, and that's the antigen that they learn to fight off. So the second key feature that I'll point out is diversity. Diversity is pretty much antibodies are against a variety of antigens that already exist in the body. So what this means is all of these millions of cells, these antibodies, they're already present in the body. So all kinds of antigens are already recognized by these cells. So the body is protected from any repeated infection or anything. So say, and I like to use the influenza virus, because I mean it's common, a lot of people know it, but that's just like when your body gets infected with the influenza virus, your body is now known to this. They know the virus, they know what comes with it, they know they have this in programmed, so they put it in their little file, and they're like, okay, once the flu virus comes, we understand it, this is what it is. So it's like an assortment of all these pathogens that are stored in here. And once it reoccurs, then it brings that file out and like, okay, here comes the influenza virus. Here's what we have. So that's how that goes. If that makes sense. The next feature that I like to talk about is immunological memory. And what this is pretty much we don't develop any symptoms of any foreign pathogen. So, kind of going back to what I said about the diversity, we have all these diversity of pathogens that are stored in here. So, pretty much what the immune system does is that it keeps its memory of it, and it knows it, and so it's not foreign to it. So once the virus or any pathogen comes, it reacts to it. The next one I would like to talk about, well, the last one I would like to talk about, number 4, is immune tolerance. Immune tolerance is the cells and tissues. They are not normally attacked. So you may ask, so why don't tens of hundreds of millions of B cells recognize and attack these tissues? Well, antibodies are recognized by all types of antigens except for the self antigen. Because B cells react to the self antigen. However, they are not eliminated in the bone marrow. So they recognize all these antigens, these pathogens, but it doesn't neglect, it's not neglected to the self antigen. So that is pretty much a brief summary of antibody functions.